Hello guys, welcome to this tutorial. Please, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, go back and do that. Thank you if you have already done that. So in this course or in this tutorial, we'll be talking about the lexical JavaScript structure. That is how to structure our JavaScript code. So we have first of all what we call the case sensitivity. So JavaScript is case sensitive. Please, this means if I declare two variables like this, as you can see there, I have of course don't care about that for now because you have not yet discovered that, but just understand that that's how we declare a variable in JavaScript. Those are actually variables, but don't care about that for now, as I'm just from saying. So here I have the hello variable with small h, and here I have with capital H. So this hello and this one are actually different, please. So that's what we mean by case sensitivity. So please, I hope you got the point, guys. We also have what we call the white space. White space can be extra indents or line breaks and spaces. JavaScript ignores it, but it makes the code easier for people to read. So the following JavaScript with very little white space. So see this rows, it has very little white space. But of course, don't care about it for now. This is actually a JavaScript code, but don't care about it for now. As I'm saying, we are going to discover that later. This tutorial is just for how to structure your JavaScript code. So as you can see that this code is very little white space. So as everything is just packed into one place, which is not actually visible. So but the following is the same JavaScript code. This one is actually the same JavaScript code with typical amount of white space. So as you can see, it's a little bit different from the previous one, but here is still not so clear. But see this last one, the following is the same JavaScript with a lot of white space, and you bear with me that it is very easy to read and interpret by everyone. So this is what we mean by white space. That means you should put spaces so that your code should be very legible or to read, or because many years later you may want to come back and see what we did in this particular code, and if everything is just packed at the same place, it will not be really easy to identify each element of your code or for other people to read your code. So it's very important to white space your code. As you can see that this code is actually has a lot of white space, which is very easy to read as compared to this first one. So I hope you got the point from there. We also have what we call comments. Comments allow you to leave notes in your code to help other people understand it. They also allow you to comment our code that you want to hide from the browser, but you don't want to delete. So assume that these functions, this one, of course, and this one, they are actually the same functions, but let's assume that they are actually different, and I actually want to test something with this function but not this second one. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to delete. It's not necessary to delete the code after or copy and then paste it later. Of course, this is another way, but you can comment the code by doing something like this that we are going to explain in a short while. This code will not be interpreted as we load our page. So this is just to this one star slash and star slash is actually everything that is within this is actually called a comment. It's just for you or your notes in your code. Or actually, let me say I'm writing a function for sum to some number, or let's just say the name is not that too explicit. Let me just call it t that takes two number in parameter, two number, and then just return the sum, return a plus b. Of course, don't care about that for now. Now I can just comment this code like this. This function computes the sum of two numbers. So this line will not be interpreted by as you load your page. So it's just for you, for the clarity of your code. So this is how what we call the single line comments with a double slash. So this symbol is actually what we call a slash. So it turns all of the following text, so it will not be interpreted as said. We also have what we call multiple line comments, as you can see up there. So this is what we call the multiple line comment. So that is on multiple line of your code. Okay, let's also talk about something which is very important, the semicolons. In many computer languages, semicolons are required at the end of each code statement. But in JavaScript, the use of semicolon is optional, as new line indicates the end of the statement. This is called automatic semicolon insertion, and the rules for it are quite complex, leaving out semicolons and allowing the parser to automatically insert them can create complex problem. So let's assume something like this: A equals to B plus C, and then let's just go down and write something like this: D plus E dot print. So of course, don't care about it for now. Just to explain the concept, we are going to talk about that later. So if you have something like this, as we can see that the text editor is not actually allowing me to do such a thing. So but what you have to understand is that, let me just write something like this: plus Z. Okay, what this actually means, as you render your page, how is it the parser will interpret this? Normally it can happen that you just wanted to say A equals to B plus C and then plus G, but that's not how it will work. Actually, the parser, when you're actually rendering your page or you're interpreting your JavaScript code, the parser will automatically put a semicolon here first, and we see this one. We also, because as we said, a new line just indicate that just put the semicolon at the end of the statements where you were before you go back to the next line. So as you can see there, the parser, if you don't put this, the semicolon, you will automatically put that as you interpret your JavaScript code. So and you see that this plus d is actually isolated, and it's there just alone, just like that. It's nowhere. So it's very important to keep that in mind. So as we don't put, don't just be very careful, because it's very important to note that. So that's what we call the automatic semicolon insertion. So it's very important. Don't write something like this. Or let us take the case of this, our return function, return a plus b, and then you do something like this. You can even see that this color of a plus b has actually changed, which is it changed. Not what as it was before. So as you compile, or as you run, or you interpret this code, the parser will automatically put a semicolon here before going to the next line, and you see that this a plus b is just nowhere. It's just there like that, and it will cause a lot of problems. So you should be very careful with that semicolon. It's better, or it's preferable to put a semicolon for best practices. We also have what we call literals. A literals is hard-coded value. Literals provide a means of expressing specific values in your script. For example, just assume something like this: name equals to Peter. This is what we call hard-coded value. This Peter, as we're going to see later, so don't care about it. It's what we actually call a literal hard-coded value. So there are several types of literal available. The most common are the string literals. Yeah, this is actually a string, but there are also integers and floating point literals, array and boolean literals, and object literals. So as we are going to see later, so this is what we actually call a literal. Okay guys, how to name variables in JavaScript. When naming variables, there are some rules that must be obeyed. Uppercase and lowercase letters of alphabet, underscore, and $sign can be used, but remember the case sensitive. Numbers are allowed after character. So let me actually, if I want to declare a variable called, I don't know, we cannot put a number to start a variable. So it's not actually, you should put something, you should start with character, underscore, but not a number. So if I actually put something here like 4, you see that there's an error. So you cannot actually start writing or declaring a variable with a name that starts with a number. You should start with either underscore and then you just write the name, or just start with a letter. But also, of course, it can end with a number, but it should not start with a number. No other characters are allowed. Variable names are case sensitive. Let me just see it back again, please. So different case implies a different name. A variable may not be reserved word. So there are some, so as a, for example, 4 is actually a reserved word, as we are going to see later. So you cannot actually declare a name of a variable as with taking a reserved word to build that. So hope guys you enjoy this tutorial. So this is very fundamental to understand before we move forward to JavaScript itself. So I hope you got the point from this. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.